Crash and
So you've tuned in to Grace Unfiltered, and Bishop is now being very unchristian. He making fun of
my team is not doing well.
My Steelers. Yeah, but you're still okay. So I'm a Steelers fan, and we have lost in consecutive weeks to 2-10 teams.
Wait a minute, we lost last game was against.
We lost to Arizona, and then we lost to the Patriots.
The Patriots.
Both of them had won 2 games.
How did y'all lose to the Patriots? They don't have Tom Brady any longer. Who is quarterbacking? Is it a high school guy quarterbacking for the Patriots? We digress. All right.
But the thing that gets me about, I'll tell you what, this is what gets me about this. We'll get to important things in a second, is Mike Tomlin, my coach. Mm-hmm. Has been there for 17 years.
Yep.
Never had a losing season.
Never.
Ever.
Ever until this year.
Well, we're not. We still have a chance. We still have a chance. And people are like, "Let's fire Tomlin." I'm like,
y'all need a quarterback. Y'all need an offensive coordinator.
It ain't Tomlin.
It ain't Tomlin. Tomlin is.
He's doing the best with what he's got.
He ain't got much to work with.
He do not have much to work with. So this has the potential to be a short, Grace Unfiltered.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong
with that.
But we have 3 questions, and they're all about the same thing.
Yes.
Which is kind of to be expected. So we announced on Sunday, if you weren't here, that we have hired a new executive pastor, Roderick Rogers out of Fordyce, introduced his family. And so everybody wants to know about that. So here's what I'm gonna do: is there's
not
3,
everybody, but
not. I mean, some, yeah. Some people are like, whatever, right? But the people who want to know.
Right.
Right. So 3 questions, and I'm gonna read them all because they all kind of ask various things of the same thing, and then we'll go from there. Someone wrote, "What exactly does an executive pastor do?" Also, I'm glad we're growing. That's one question. That's the shortest one. Middle question. This question is about the sermon, but clarifying question about Pastor Roderick. What does an executive pastor mean? Kind of the same question. But then they say, where does that stand in relationship to Pastor Josh and Bishop Arnold? Different question. And then the last one, which is kind of a paragraph long, asks a bunch of questions. So they say, who is Roderick? Question number 1. Why have I never heard of him? Question number 2. Has he been a member here? Question number 3. Why was the church membership not made aware that there was a search going on for another pastor? Question number 4. What does it mean to be an executive pastor? Question number 5. And probably my biggest question, why are there 3 main pastors, yet not a full-time youth pastor? Question number 6. Why has there not been more investment into our teens? Question number 7. P.S. Aaron and Christy are awesome, but Aaron, has a full-time job in addition to youth ministry, and he's personally mentioned to me that he doesn't have time that he wishes to fully invest or plan for the youth ministry. P.S.S. Welcome, Roderick. Okay. So let's just start here. Tell us, Bishop, tell us a little bit about who Roderick is, like the man Roderick Rogers.
Yeah, Roderick Rogers is a super amazing guy, super amazing husband, father. He's been married for 16 years, has a 15-year-old daughter, as well as a
6 months?
6 months, new baby girl. So 2 daughters. Awesome guy as far as a businessman. He has 2 or 3 businesses that he is running in Fordyce, Arkansas. Comes to the table with 20 years of ministry experience. He has been the lead guy as well as played other roles and things in ministry. He has set up under Bill Elliff, amazing guy who pastors the Summit Church. He's did an internship there. So he brings to the table, we're at a place and a stage and a season of the ministry here at Grace United We need someone who could hit the ground running, and I believe that Roderick comes to the table with the ability, with the bandwidth to do what is needed to help me and Josh, though we hadn't gotten to that question yet.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But he is there to help assist us. He's not coming in as a co-pastor, nor is he coming in as a full-time pastor. He's still doing this part-time. So, but he's an awesome and amazing guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when you've been talking, conversing with him for a little while.
Over a year.
Right, over a year. And so when I met him, I had to process what you had already seen.
Yes.
And then the elders had to process what we had already seen, right? And so I think he's the most interesting connection point of a good businessman, a guy with a master's degree in the scripture, internship at Summit, highly motivated in the ministry world, even in the political world as far as being on city councils and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just a unique blend of experiences that is not, I don't know if I've seen that before in this combination.
Yeah, he brings together a great gift set that really complements both of us. And I think at this stage of the ministry here at Grace United, both of us needed someone like that. To me, he's a cross between the both of us. I know nothing about computers. He knows about computers. He's a people person. And so, Josh knows a lot about computers. So he's a cross between the two of us, and it's to me, it's a perfect fit.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So, so just to clarify, so he's not, because our people, when we first began this, saw 3 co-pastors. So he's not a co-pastor with you and I.
No, he's there to be a buffer, really. I don't know if that's the proper term to use.
That's fine. That's fine. We're good.
But so that me and Josh can focus on some of the weightier things, bigger things for Grace United, not only for where we are, but where God is taking us. Right now, we both are pulled in a lot of different directions. And when you get pulled in so many different directions, it's really hard to do anything on a high level. And where we are now as a church, we've got to really operate on a high level because of the expectations that come with a growing church. This past Sunday, between both services, we had over 600 people here. This church is on the fast track of growing, and with growth comes more demand that we do things with the spirit of excellence. This is going to give both of us more time to prepare, to preach, and to preach at a level where this congregation is expecting.
Yeah.
So
he's going to be here too. He's not a co-pastor. He's not full-time.
No.
And he is here to help all of us, not just you and me, but all of us execute an executive pastor is one of the most detail-oriented jobs in a church generally, but they're necessary to make it function.
Yes.
So let's talk about this. Kind of a portion of the question was, why have they never heard of him? Has he been a member here? And why was the church membership not made aware of the fact that we're even looking for an executive pastor? Mm-hmm. So I can answer that from kind of a church governance standpoint. Mm-hmm. Okay. So in fact, we had a new members class this past Sunday, and we had a number of people in there. And the best question I got in this particular class, because they're always a little bit different, is how do we run this church? So there's 3 basic ways to run a church: pastor-led, congregationally led, and elder-led. Congregationally led means that everybody in the church that is a member of the church gets a vote, and then the most votes wins. And so if we were congregationally led, we would have brought Pastor Rogers up to the front and said, hey, we really like this guy. He's a great guy. We have a church meeting, and if you want to vote yay, vote yay. If you want to vote nay, vote nay. And then you kind of do that. The problem with that is that a 7-year-old's vote stands the same weight as a 70-year-old's vote, right? So someone who's been a Christian for 5 minutes and someone who's been a Christian for, and there's nothing wrong. You're standing before God, but there's a maturity issue there. The other one is pastor-led, and so pastor-led is if, let's say Bishop's the pastor of the church, and he just says, I like Roderick, we're hiring him, that's the way it goes. So you're kind of at the mercy of whether Bishop in this scenario is making a good decision or a poor decision, and that can either make your church grow really, really quickly or crumble your church. We're an elder-led church. What that means is the congregation has approved of a group of men who have the gifting of elder and the call to be an elder at a certain time. And this group of people that God has built up shepherds the church, makes decisions for the church. Sometimes we'll make the church aware of issues that we're dealing with, and sometimes we will not. In this particular issue, hiring an executive pastor was not one that we needed to run by the church beforehand.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I can remember when I was a pastor at my second church, we were a kind of a congregational-led church, as well as deacons were in place along with the pastor to lead the church. And it was in 2001 that we made the shift from that style of leadership to elder-led. Right. And so it was a big shift, but it was really a blessing and a benefit to not only myself, but to the congregation. We still acknowledges the congregation and brought things to the congregation to inform them, but the elders and myself made the decisions about the direction of the church. And there were seasons, especially as the church continued to grow, that certain positions we advertised within the church, certain high-level positions we didn't.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So you do it at the discretion of leadership.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And let me say this right here.
Yeah, please.
A congregation needs to empower leadership. If you believe in leadership, because to me there's a contradiction and there's an issue when the immature is leading the mature.
Okay.
Leadership is about maturity, not perfection, but maturity.
Right.
People who make sound, solid decisions for the benefit of others, and that's what the elders are there to do. Yeah.
And I believe you're not saying that this particular individual or these particular individuals asking this question are immature because they're just asking clarifying questions.
Oh, no.
Right.
No, good question.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
and all you're getting, get an understanding.
But you are the way when we bring up elders, just so you know, so when we bring up elders, what will happen is we'll actually do this fairly soon, next couple of months, is we will say, who is God calling to be elders at Grace United? And we'll talk to them, and we will bring those people before the congregation, and we will say we are candidating these gentlemen to be an elder of this church. If you have any reservations, let us know, and we will work through those. If there are any, we'll work through those before we make that final decision. So each one of these people has gone through that process. Their last question was this. It says, probably my biggest question is, why are there 3 main pastors, clarifying only 2 full-time, but 3 main pastors, and yet not a full-time youth pastor? Why has there not been more investment in our teens? To me, and I want to hear how you would answer this question, but to me is, the way that this church is being built is a little bit different than I've ever kind of experienced before, in the fact that we've said all along, this feels like, and I'll come down to that in a second, but it feels like this is something happening to us. Mm-hmm. So this is not something that Bishop, you and I got together and said, if we did this would do something amazing in Little Rock. This whole idea has come upon us, and we're simply doing our best to follow what God is doing. To me, it feels like the hiring of Roderick is kind of following in that stead. Mm-hmm. Is Roderick it's not like we said, okay, the next hire needs to be this in order. It feels like this is the right position and the right person at this time. what that does not mean is that we're not interested in teens or focused on teens. In fact,
no.
I've met with Aaron here very recently, talked about our plans for 2024, the next steps of what we want to do. And we do realize with almost hitting 650 this past Sunday, and this is going to continue to grow, that these are positions of need. Aaron's not the only one. Grace Kids. I think that Grace Kids had 120 people back there in the first service. Yeah. So Leah Joe's juggling, just numerically.
Right.
Leah Joe's juggling more people,
Yes.
more volunteers, and more children than there. So I'm not saying that that's not important. It's very important. In fact, I'm an ex-youth pastor who thinks it's crucially important. But making the dominoes, number one, following the Lord's lead instead of jumping out in front saying, this is the way that seminary tells us to build a church. This should be the next hire. And also, just being sensitive to this unique thing that's happening right now and just flowing with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And please know that these are discussions that we've had in elders meeting. This is nothing that is something that we're not aware of, something that we're giving strong consideration and prayerful consideration moving forward, because we definitely understand for this church to continue to grow, the youth ministry has to continue to be strong, strengthened, so that it can continue to sustain the growth. Because if we are not growing with our youth, it's going to shut down the growth in the sanctuary. So we realize that they both work together. So that's why we're continuing to make the investment with Leah Joe, with the children, as well as with Aaron upstairs with the students. So we're not oblivious of some of the needs that are here, but we're also trusting God to lead us and to guide us as it relates to that, as well as bring forward those individuals that we're going to need, to help facilitate that with the youth.
And I'm glad whoever wrote the question, I'm glad that this person is passionate about teenagers.
Yes.
Like we need a whole host of those. They're passionate about the youth. And so I commend that. And I also, and what we've said behind the scenes is Aaron and Christy and Leah Joe are awesome.
Yeah, and the other couple.
Home runs.
What's the middle school?
Oh, the Greases, Brian. And so they are just spectacular. Like they're all spectacular. And so probably the difference is exactly what you said. I think that you and I are having meetings and conversations that, no one else knows about, and so we're not just looking at today or tomorrow. We're saying, this is the year from now, this church is going to look different than it is today, and we have to be set up for that. And what do we have to do in which domino?
It goes back to having an executive pastor will free us up to be more prayerful, to have more conversations, to hear God about where we're going from here.
Yeah.
Because we believe that this is on the beginning, so.
I believe this is, what I've said before is I believe this is bigger than a church. I believe it could be a movement.
Oh, without a doubt.
And so
this is a kingdom concept.
Yeah, I think we're doing something bigger than building one church in one building. We're building a movement. And so how do we position ourselves not just for 2024, but how do we position ourselves for the next 5 years? Of which teens and youth are crucially important.
Right.
That's Roderick. You guys, like I said on Sunday, think of it this way. Even though he's on staff, he's the new guy. You have friends, you have circles. He does not yet. So as they grow, invite them over to your house. Take them out to lunch after church on Sunday. Even though he's on staff, treat him like someone that is new and love on them well so that they're encouraged. And so Lena and Kinley and Kennedy all feel very welcome at Grace United. If you'd like to check us out, we're at graceunitedlr.com. We're at 12900 Cantrell, 2 services on Sunday. And if that is all to gather our attention, bye, Cynthia.
Bye, Cynthia.